She was having the perfect vacation with her husband, but suddenly, a vicious cartel brutally murdered him. Their arrogance led them to believe they were untouchable, not knowing what she would do to each of them that day. Imagine this. There is a woman named Brenner who is on a road trip with her husband, Dylan. They are just trying to enjoy a quiet getaway, driving through the countryside, likely hoping for a break from their busy lives. Brenner, however, is no ordinary woman. She has a tough past. Think of someone with high-level training and military-grade endurance. And Dylan, he's a cop, a good one. Anyway, as they're driving down the road, an old, beat-up truck passes them out of nowhere. The guy inside yells something vulgar at Brenner like, It's not just gross, it's a total lack of respect. Then he speeds off, swerving like a maniac. Dylan and Brenner just shake their heads and keep going, trying not to let it ruin their mood. Later, they stop at a small roadside diner for a short break. Brenner decides to sit outside to relax while Dylan goes to the bathroom. But guess who shows up again? The same jerk from the truck. His name is Butch.
Think I've got something to shut that mouth, Butch?
And yes, he is every bit as horrible as you'd expect. He starts harassing Brenner, making her feel super uncomfortable. He leans in close, invading her space, saying things that would make anyone's skin crawl. Dylan returns just in time and confronts the guy. The tension is thick, as if they are about to come to blows.
We got a problem?
But before it spirals out of control, an older lady from the diner intervenes. She calms them both down, acting as a sort of peace mediator. She says the people in this town aren't used to seeing visitors, especially people who look happy together. Then, affectionately, she tells them to call her Mama, just like everyone else around here does. Listen, order whatever you want because it's on Butch. Dylan thanks her, though it's quite clear they both still feel on edge. After eating, the couple gets back on the road and finally stops in the woods to camp. They find a small, peaceful clearing and decide to set up for the night. Everything seems fine until a policewoman appears. She approaches and chats with Brenner for a moment, acting friendly but giving off strange vibes. She warns them that the people around here don't much like strangers, especially those who decide to stay in the woods. Chilling, right? They thank her, and she leaves. Still determined to make the most of their trip, Brenner and Dylan decide to go for a hike. They reach a fork in the trail, and Dylan asks which way they should go. Brenner says left, not realizing that decision will change everything. As they walk, it starts to pour rain. They run through the woods and stumble upon an old, grim-looking cabin. Thinking that's better than getting soaked, they go inside. It's somewhat cozy, and for a moment, they forget all the weird stuff and just enjoy being alone. Sparks fly, romance ensues, and for a while, they manage to pretend the world isn't dangerous. Afterwards, Brenner starts exploring the place. She searches a back room and discovers something terrifying, a secret compartment full of weapons and ammunition. Her instincts scream danger. She calls Dylan and he checks outside. They are both scared and decide to get out of there fast. But before they can escape, Butch ambushes them from behind. He knocks them both unconscious with the butt of his rifle. The next thing we know, they are tied up in a filthy room. Dylan is beaten and bleeding, and Butch is having far too much fun tormenting him. Brenner, helpless, is forced to watch her husband suffer. In the middle of all this chaos, one of Butch's accomplices pulls him aside and tells him Dylan is a cop. That makes Butch freeze. Suddenly, he's nervous. He goes back in, faking kindness, and says, "I didn't know you were a cop, man. I'm sorry about all this." Then, boom, he shoots them both. Mercilessly, just like that. His men drag the bodies to a trench in the woods, dig a hole, and throw them in like trash. But here is where the story takes a turn. Brenner isn't dead. The bullets only grazed her, enough to knock her out and make her bleed, but not to kill her. She wakes up hours later, dazed but alive. The first thing she does is check on Dylan. He didn't make it. Shattered and heartbroken, she covers his body with branches. Her grief quickly turns to rage. She blames herself for choosing the left path. That one decision led them here. But then, her training kicks in. She remembers who she really is, lethal, smart, and focused. It's time for revenge. She grabs a nearby axe and heads into the woods with one mission: to take down everyone involved. Meanwhile, in town, Butch and his friends act like they own the place. They treat people horribly, especially women. Right, babe? It's now clear. They have been kidnapping women, doing terrible things, and no one dares to stop them. Even Mama, the woman from the diner, seems to be involved in all of this. She gives Butch orders as if she runs the show, telling him to eat quickly because she has more work for him. Brainer, out in the wild, fashions a lethal wooden weapon. She then ambushes one of Butch's men, takes him out silently, and hides the body. She is clearly disturbed by what she is doing, but there is no turning back now. It's her or them. She moves through the woods like a ghost, taking out another member of Butch's gang. She is fast and brutal. At one point, she cuts off a guy's foot but spares his life, letting him crawl away terrified. Then she finds Butch's cabin, the place where all the horror began, and blows it sky high. The explosion is massive, lighting up the forest. That's when a new character appears, Sheriff Hobbs. He hears the blast and grabs his gun, confused and alarmed. Butch and Mama see the smoke too. Butch panics a little, realizing something is very wrong. Mama, clearly the brains behind this twisted operation, tells him to go investigate. On his way into the woods, Butch finds one of his men barely alive. Babbling about Brainer, Butch throws him into the back of the truck and rushes back to town. But guess what? Brainer is already hiding in the back of that same truck, waiting for her next move. Back at their creepy base, Butch breaks the news to Mama. Some of their men are dead. She is furious, slaps him, blames him for everything, and demands he clean up the mess. It turns out Mama is more dangerous than she looks. She has a whole network of shady people working for her, including tech experts who can investigate anyone. She orders one of them to check Briner's background, not knowing that the woman she tried to kill is already destroying her world. The guy looks at the screen, confused and terrified. Meanwhile, the woman everyone calls Mama discovers something that unbalances her. This woman she is hunting, Briner, is no ordinary girl. She was in the military, trained as a professional, and now Mama realizes she messed with the wrong person. In the woods, Sheriff Hobbs is wandering around when he stumbles upon one of Butch's men, now dead in the dirt. Wasting no time, he grabs his radio and contacts his team, informing them he has found a body. Meanwhile, Briner isn't just hiding. She's busy turning the place into a booby trap zone. She sets up snares and surprise attacks everywhere, ready for anyone who comes looking for her. Soon, Hobbs's team arrives at the same spot where he found the body. One of his men leans in and tells the sheriff that the guy on the ground was part of Mama's crew. Then he drops another bombshell. Apparently, this entire section of the forest is Mama's territory. Basically, she rules here. The townspeople don't just call her Mama as a nickname. She practically owns everything, and nothing happens without her consent. Curious and suspicious, the sheriff says he wants to meet this Mama face to face. At Mama's hideout, a young woman working in the control center warns her that Sheriff Hobbs is coming to see her. But there's a twist. This woman also works for Mama. She's just another person in Mama's pocket passing her information. The sheriff arrives with a couple of his men and sits down with Mama. He mentions the body they found in the woods, but Mama plays dumb. She doesn't even pretend to be concerned about losing one of her men. In fact, she lies and says the man took his own life. Hobbs doesn't believe it for a second, but he stays quiet. He nods, plays along, and finally leaves without making a scene. That night, Mama and her so-called sons gather to drink and mourn the guy they lost. They are drunk and sad, sprawled all over the place. Butch wakes up after all this, still dazed from the alcohol, and walks into a room only to find Briner waiting for him. She isn't there to talk. She grabs a knife and slits his throat, watching as he slowly bleeds out. He gasps and struggles, but there is nothing he can do. She just stands there, her gaze cold while he dies. That was for her husband. Morning comes, and Briner is still hiding in the building. She sees one of Mama's men dragging a young woman into a locked room. That hits her hard. This girl isn't alone. There are others like her, trapped, scared, and abused. Briner knows she can't just leave. She sneaks inside and manages to unlock the door, freeing the girls. But not all of them are ready to run. They've been through too much and are terrified. One of them panics and lets out a scream, alerting a nearby guard. The guy comes in shooting. One of the girls is hit and dies instantly. Brenner, however, doesn't back down. She takes him out in an ingenious and brutal way. Brenner escapes the building with one of the girls, Emily. Together, they head into the woods. Meanwhile, word reaches Mama that Butch is dead and the girls are gone. The news hits her like a truck. She is furious and heartbroken, especially over her son. She loses total control, ordering her men to find Brenner at any cost. She wants every able man, every dog, every resource out there searching. One of her men tracks Brenner, but he is no match for her traps. He ends up dead, just like the others. Another man appears, and Brenner doesn't hesitate. She shoots him on the spot. That night, Brenner and Emily sit by a campfire. It's a moment of unusual calm. Emily opens up and tells Brenner she is pregnant. She's afraid, not just for herself, but for the baby. She knows if Mama finds her, she might not survive. Brenner puts a hand on her shoulder and tells her everything is going to be okay. "I've got you," she says. The next morning, Mama sends her lead enforcer, a big guy with dogs, into the woods to track them down. They manage to catch Emily, but Brenner shows up just in time to deal with the attackers. At the same time, Sheriff Hobbs arrives in the area, only to get shot in the leg by one of the bad guys. Brenner reacts instantly and takes down the shooter. She helps the sheriff get to safety, and the three of them regroup. Brenner tells the sheriff they can't stay in one place. If they do, they'll be hunted down again and again. So, they leave the hideout and follow a stream, hoping to find help. That's when they run into the policewoman who warned Brenner and her husband at the beginning of the story. Thinking she's an ally, they get into her car. Exhausted, Brenner and Emily fall asleep in the back seat. But when they wake up, the nightmare begins again. They are surrounded by Mama's people. The officer had been working for Mama the whole time. She betrayed them. Brenner and Emily are dragged away. Emily confesses she is pregnant with Butch's baby, hoping to save herself. Mama doesn't seem to care. She sends Emily to another room and prepares Brenner for torture. Later, Emily appears with food, but she's not there to serve lunch. She overpowers the guard and frees Brenner. Brenner, now filled with rage and purpose, bursts into the main room where Mama's gang is gathered. She becomes a total warrior, taking them out one after another. At the same time, Mama grabs Emily and puts a knife to her throat, trying to force Brenner to surrender. A man sneaks up and attacks Brenner from behind. While she is distracted, Mama slits Emily's throat and flees. Brenner finishes off the attacker, but by the time she reaches Emily, it's too late. The girl is already gone. 3 months later, Mama is sitting in a quiet garden, trying to move on. She receives a mysterious message, Judgment Day. Before she has time to react, a bullet goes through her head. Brenner had been watching her from the shadows, hiding and waiting for the perfect moment. With her revenge complete, she silently walks away through the trees. Her mission is over, and that is how it ends. Thanks for watching.